Okay, next speaker was, she's a graduate of Yale Law School. She's the leading voice in the movement to end forced abortion in China. She's testified in front of Congress 8 times and basically in front of Parliament and all over the world. So we welcome Reggie Littlejohn.
Wow, you are impressive. I bring greetings on behalf of the women and the babies of China. And I want to tell you, I also have some big news. Okay, in my right hand, I am holding an article that says here that President Donald Trump will sign an executive order Sunday, that is tomorrow, to defund International Planned Parenthood! Yay! Yay! Now, I also have another article here. This is something I wrote on November 30th of 2016, which is published by LifeSite News, in which I asked President Trump to defund International Planned Parenthood. This is a huge, huge victory. Huge. Now, why is it important to defund International Planned Parenthood? From my perspective, I fight forced abortion and sex-selective abortion in China. And something that people don't realize is that in the United States, we've had about 58 million abortions since the Roe v. Wade decision. In China, the Chinese Communist Party boasts that they have prevented 400 million lives through the one-child policy. That's more than the entire population of the United States and Canada combined. And of course, they're not going to say how many of these were prevented through forced abortion, including up to the 9th month of pregnancy, including forced abortions that were so violent that the women themselves died with their full-term babies. This has happened. This is part of the way that they prevented these 400 million lives. Now, last year, the State Department, in their report, they found out that China has been reporting 13 million abortions a year, which is 13 times the number of abortions we have per year. Actually, that number, as amazing and appalling as it is low. It's actually 23 million abortions a year in China, many of them forced. That comes out to 64,000 a day, more than 2,600 an hour, and 47 per minute. Basically, for every breath that we take, a baby is being aborted in China. What does this have to do with International Planned Parenthood? Well, International Planned Parenthood and the United Nations Family Planning Fund have been working hand in hand with the Chinese Communist Party on their population control program since its inception, and they've been completely opaque about what their activities are. And without this transparency, I have argued that they are complicit with it, and apparently President Trump agrees. So thank God for his decisive action that's going to happen tomorrow. Defund them! Defund them! Defund them! Now, because of the traditional preference for boys, girls are also selectively aborted. And that has given rise to a situation where there are about 37 million more men living in China than women today, which is driving human trafficking and sexual slavery. So, what is Women's Rights Without Frontiers doing about it? Number one, we have an international advocacy campaign exposing this internationally to governments all over the world, doing things like writing open letters to President Trump to try to encourage him to do things like defund International Planned Parenthood. And by the way, UNFPA, you are also on our radar screen, and we want you defunded as well. China's one-child policy has caused more violence against women and girls than any other policy in the history of the world. And people sometimes ask, how do Chinese women deal with this? Well, it's a very sobering answer. China has the highest female suicide rate of any country in the world, and 590 women a day end their lives in China. I don't think that this is unrelated to forced abortion and the sex-selective abortion of baby girls. So one of the things that we're doing in addition to international advocacy is that we are saving baby girls in China. We've got a Save a Girl campaign in China. We've got boots on the ground in China, where when we find out about a woman who's going to have a forced abortion or who is being pressured to selectively abort her baby girl, we will actually go to her door and say, please don't abort, please don't abandon your baby because she's a girl, she's a precious daughter, and we will give you a monthly stipend for a year to empower you to keep your daughter, and we have saved hundreds of baby girls through this program. And finally, my husband and I are saving Chinese girls around our own kitchen table. So I want you to meet our two daughters, Annie and Littlejohn. Come here. These are the daughters of Zhang Lin, who is a venerated activist in China, pro-democracy, and he has been jailed and tortured repeatedly for his pro-democracy activism. And when they could not silence him by jailing him and torturing him, they actually detained his daughter, Annie. They kidnapped her out of her elementary school. She was in 4th grade. She was 10 years old. They detained her overnight, would not allow her to go back to school, put her father and her under house arrest. When they escaped, they became fugitives. Then they were caught, and he knew he would be going back to jail. And so they got word out to me saying, please, could you help us get Annie out of China? She can't lead a normal life in China. So with the help of some very brave people in China and the United States, including Congressman Chris Smith, we were able to get Annie and her sister out of China and are now raising them as our own daughters. So I want to brag a little bit about Annie because she came here speaking no English, playing no instrument, and in just 2 years, she became a straight A student. She won an international competition to play at Carnegie Hall, and she actually played piano at Carnegie Hall before Christmas. She's played in Carnegie Hall. So Annie is symbolic of all the beauty and the love and the joy in China that are being lost because, number one, she was almost forcibly aborted because she was Zhang Lin's second daughter. So family planning police were coming daily to her mother to try to force her to abort Annie. And also, as a second daughter, she could easily have been selectively aborted, but she wasn't because of her great, courageous parents, and she's here with us. And the last thing I want to say about her is she was born on January 22nd, 2003. What's that? The 30th anniversary of the March for Life, which is now celebration of Life Sunday. It's a celebration of Life Day. And so tomorrow is her birthday, which is also the same day that President Trump is going to be signing his executive order defunding international Planned Parenthood. So on behalf of all the women and the babies of China, all the baby girls that deserve to be born, all the babies in the United States, and all the babies in the world that deserve to be born, I'm wondering if you would join me in singing Happy Birthday to Annie. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Annie. Happy birthday